just a huge day, huge win. First series win of the season, and it comes against your hated rivals, the Houston Astros, which is always great.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it was
whose hated rival?
It's everybody's.
Okay.
We saw on the text.
You said your, and I was like, oh, you mean your.
Well, I was doing everybody except for you. We know you're an Astros fan, but
not true.
It was beautiful because it was about as improbable a win as you might ever imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, the game before was just absolutely dreadful. The offense was just not there to be had. Extra innings. You had a total of 5 hits. You had 19 strikeouts.
19.
You were 1 for 19 with runners in scoring position. It was a disaster, offensively speaking. And then you get into the next game, which was yesterday, and the first 7 innings were a continuation of what took place the game before.
Yep.
They were getting nothing done. They had 2 hits and 2 errors. That's what their day was through 7 innings. And then through 8 and 9, all of a sudden, the spark is ignited. They start piecing it together, or they're working walks and base hits and guys coming up clutch that you're counting on, like Julio Rodriguez and Randy Arozarena. And lo and behold, they pull out a 7-6 win when they're down 5-0. They just look lifeless. And it just makes it that. I know it's a regular season win. I know it's early and all of that. But when we talk about a season that ends and you miss the playoffs by 1 game, this could be a game we point to and go, you know what, this was the difference.
That was an amazing, like, it took me a while to like look. I got home and then started going through the stats and looking at everything, and just having been there, going, there's no way that happens, right? I mean, they end up loading the bases, and then, there was a couple of times where, they have bases loaded and there was only 1 out. So, you got a couple of opportunities, and it was like, I think it went Cal and then Randy Arozarena.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, well, you feel pretty good about this, that if Cal's not going to make a big hit, that hopefully Arozarena does. And sure enough, he delivers, man. It was unbelievable. I was kind of looking around at everybody like, you got to be kidding me. That just happened?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's kind of weird also that some of the feelings that we've had, I think, San Francisco, obviously you got swept by the Giants, but there was something about it that, they were terrible as far as runners in scoring position goes. I think their runners in scoring position average right now is like 137, or at least it was going into that game.
Yeah, before yesterday, it was the worst in baseball.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, but the strikeouts were down, and and that's kind of what happened. They had 19 strikeouts when they lost the game where they didn't have an earned run. I think Houston did they in that game.
I can't even. It was. Yeah, I wanted to move away from it so quickly. It was just such dreck. I was just like
But I mean, 19 strikeouts in that game, but only 6 yesterday.
Yeah.
And good opportunities with runners in scoring position. They came up huge. So it was just it was an amazing, but I was talking about the feeling of like after San Francisco, you're like, well, at least this got better and at least that got better. But you kind of had this feel of like, well, everything's kind of okay. It's kind of the opposite with Houston. That series kind of felt bad.
Mm-hmm.
But you took 2 of 3 from them. I mean, anybody would have signed up for that.
Well, and you took the game where you ran out the other Luis Castillo.
Yeah.
The Pebble.
Right.
Not the Rock, the Pebble. And you found a way to win a game where, he went out there. He's not a dominant guy. He kept them in it, but, eventually they were getting to him, and they just offensively had nothing to back him up. And so it was improbable, to say the least, until, 8th inning, bases loaded. Here comes Randy Arozarena.
And now the 1-1 on the way. Randy with a swing and a high drive deep to left field. Devon going back to the 1-inch track. This one is grab on, get out the right, bread and mustard. It is grand salami time. Randy Arozarena with a grand slam, and it's a 1-run ball game.
And he knew it. He just kind of posed there at the plate. I got to say, if he were playing for the Astros, I'd probably hate him because he's very animated. Does a little dance before he hits third base, little step, and looks like free throw or basket shot, whatever he's doing with the third base coach Negron. But he's fun to watch because he's wearing a Mariner uniform, and you need that energy without Robles there, and he came up huge there.
Well, and doesn't he do something before every base? I think he does something as he goes into first.
Oh, does he? I just paid attention at third where he kind of takes a step back, step forward, then acts like he's shooting a shot, and then he, whatever.
Yeah, because there's the little girl on opening night that did like a kind of an homage to Randy Arozarena, where she ran the bases and did all the little motions, and I think he does one at every base. But
I'm glad he's on the Mariners.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, we would hate him.
Yeah, if you were on the Astros, I'd be like, ugh.
Yeah, and
can't stand that guy.
I love that about him, and also Robles is the same way.
Yeah,
I mean, you would just hate him, but I love him. And, and just listening to him in the press conference yesterday, we got a chance to sit in there. And that's what I love about going. You get to go in that little tiny room there, and it feels like you're like face to face with the players and with Dan Wilson. And, Arozarena was talking about how he's starting to engage with the fans. And, it took him maybe a little while, certainly last year, to get used to it because he got kind of ripped out of Tampa Bay, him and his family. So now to listen to him starting to interact with the fans and things like that, and just, I think people are going to remember that hit for a long time. He got 2 hits. He got a couple walks yesterday as well, and I think he's
the most important walk, Dave.
Yeah,
the walk-off walk.
3-2 on the way, and it's high and inside. A bases-loaded walk-off walk for Randy Arozarena. Julio will score. Pounces on home plate with both feet, and the Mariners walk it off with a 7-6 amazing comeback.
That was awesome to see that, and it's a great point you make because he's got that kind of snarl up there at the plate, and
he's very animated with everything he does. So
love it.
It was huge, and not to get lost in that. Julio, who takes a lot of slings and arrows, and a lot of it for good reason, man. He's your superstar and being paid that way, and there are a lot of moments he does not come up as that superstar. He did in this game-tying double. And he takes that ball outside pitch. He doesn't try to pull it. He goes with it. It's a laser into right field. Scores 2 runs. Ties it up at 6. I mean, that was huge. That was absolutely clutch. So the guys you're counting on to produce, they came through. Arozarena, Julio, they did their job yesterday. You got to keep it going. It's 1 of 162, but just for a day, we were able to breathe and just go, you know what? They did their jobs. They came up when it mattered most. You took the series. Your first series of the season against the Houston Astros was absolutely huge. And now you look ahead to the Rangers, who will be in town starting tomorrow for a 3-game series. They're the ones that are sitting atop the division, and the ones everybody pointed to in the offseason is the team to beat. Like, all right, if they're healthy, that's the team you need to watch out for. And so far, that appears to be true. We'll see what goes on there. But it's interesting because this is a team that a lot of people, including myself, didn't have a ton of faith in with Robles and Ryan Bliss in the lineup. I felt like they did not do, and hopefully that'll be proven wrong. We'll see. But I hated their offseason. I said it a million times. Hated it. Mm-hmm. So even with those guys, felt like they were short. Now you're without those guys. How you feeling? How are people feeling? You guys can text in 866-979-3776, powered by Mac and Jack's Brewing Company. How you feeling without those 2 guys in the lineup? Now, Bliss is a little different because I don't think we were going into the season counting on him being, this big producer. You don't really know what he's going to do for you offensively. Certainly defensively, he made some great plays this year so far. He looked very good at second base. But offensively, didn't really know what to expect. He had a home run, had a double. What was he going to be offensively? You don't know. Robles is the guy that's more of a known entity, if you will. You kind of had an idea of what he brings to the table, and you feel that loss much more. But now without those 2, if you were already a little squirrely about what they had to work with, how you feeling now?
Yeah, it's tough because, and I think a little bit, as you mentioned, a little bit less. I don't know, maybe more with Bliss, just because you kind of knew what you were going to get from Robles. At least you thought. I mean, you didn't think it was going to be like last year with 77 games, 30 steals, all that. But now all of a sudden Bliss is just like this gem. You're like, wow, he's great defensively, and you see him on the base paths, and he can be a problem, and that's really the description of Robles as well. So now, I mean, I guess you're counting on guys like Miles Mastrobuoni, right? I mean, to name.
He had a great game yesterday, by the way.
He did, man. He got a couple of hits and
hit them hard. Those weren't cheapies. He laced these balls into the gap there. He had a nice game.
Yeah.
You know, is he a guy that can be that guy every night? We'll find out, because he's probably going to see a lot more time than he certainly anticipated to start the season.
Yeah, so scrappy player, guy that's been in a couple of organizations, but you know, the time that he's been here, right, you know, this season, he's got 4 hits and 12 at bats. He worked a walk or 2, and then you know, he's got a stolen base. So hopefully he's going to be just replace, you know, for a while there, Ryan Bliss, and then until he gets healthy. But yeah, that's a big blow for, you know, for, you're looking for a couple of positions that, you know, guys to grow into it. And we talked about that all during the offseason. If this happens and if that happens, this guy has to be that. And now all of a sudden you're down 2 really good players.
Yeah, it's a bummer. We're going to see what they're able to do, but –